Whatever the date is, Rachel, August 4th. Fantastic. Christmas is right around the corner. All right, tonight we have MBL Technologies, and we have a whole crew of support from them. And Josh, are you the main speaker? You and Matt? Matt, yeah. Okay, fantastic. We're going to invite you up to let you explain the variety of technologies that you have. You tell us if you would like to take questions as you go, or if you want to wait till the end, whatever is your comfort level. You have a pretty intelligent crowd here, and you will hear some good questions. So, but again, it's your preference as to we hold them to the end, or... That sounds good. That sounds good. If we need to, let's do a quick roll call for the record.
Commissioner Dodd?
Here.
Commissioner Piercy?
Here.
Commissioner Chirino? Commissioner P?
Here.
Commissioner Blair?
Here.
Commissioner Harris?
Here.
Chairman Cush?
Present. All right. Gentlemen, I'm going to introduce to you Mr. Matthew Linda. Matt, if you're Matt or Matthew, which one do you want to go by? Matt. All right, come on up. Be sure and speak into the microphone. That's the only way the rest of the universe will be able to hear you. Don't feel bad about having your back to this group, because we will also hear you through the mic. So take it away. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. County Mayor Ketron, Deputy Mayor Steve Stanlin, Chairman and District 7 Mike Cush, Director of Solid Waste Mac Nolan, other district commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matthew Linda. I'm the managing member of MBL Technology, and with me this evening to discuss our solid waste technology is our Chief Technology Officer, John Horn. He's a professional engineer, and we have our equipment manufacturer, supplier, project manager, and his name is Josh Wagner. He's also a professional engineer, and he represents the CP Group, which you could see behind us up on the wall. We're excited to be here tonight because we want to present MBL's 21st century technology, which is designed to process municipal solid waste and turn that waste into valuable building products, composite materials, and high-quality BTU fuel cubes for electric cogen plants throughout the state of Tennessee. Our technology will also eliminate any wasteful dumping of those valuable resources into the Middle Point landfill, as currently being practiced. We're going to show 3 short videos because I'm 100% sure listening to me is nice, but when you see actually what you'll be getting, you'll enjoy it much more. And at the end of the segment, we could answer any question that you want. And one other thing before we show the videos. In the meeting of July 19th, it was our professional opinion that a lot of commissioners had mentioned that Rutherford County's residents, citizens, young and old, don't know anything about solid waste or recycling practices. Well, MBL is going to change that. For example, in the educational end, we will provide programs to the communities on waste conservation and scheduled tours through the facility. We will provide literature and programs showing how to handle household garbage, hazardous waste, and non-recyclable materials. Community activities. MBL will support at least 2 youth programs in the Rutherford County annually. MBL will also support at least 2 Rutherford County community charity fundraisers in Murfreesboro or as directed. MBL will support a special birthday festival in Murfreesboro, scheduled in April of every year. We will make our public relation department and supplies available to pre-approved charitable school activities during business and non-business hours. And I think the most important thing, MBL wants to be your best neighbor. And by doing that, we will offer every year 2 free community college scholarships to 2 individuals chosen by the Murfreesboro or Rutherford County Board of Education annually. 2 other items, the economic benefits: to do 2,000 tons a day, build the facility, the equipment, into a turnkey operation. It's an $80 million investment. MBO will also pay a community host fee of $500,000 per year to Murfreesboro and to Rutherford County annually. We will give you a disposal fee reduction, which is hard to do because I understand that you're presently paying $0. And 90% or more of collected municipal solid waste will be converted back into useful building products and other recyclable materials. I'll just add 2 more things to it. It's the creation of 100 to 120 new job opportunities during the construction phase, and most importantly, the creation of 100 to 120 new job opportunities when the facility is operational. When you recognize and implement an alternative solid waste plan, things go very well. I had an opportunity yesterday to view your landfill. I also had an opportunity today coming here to look at the landfill again and to see what's happening there with the technologies that are out there is a sin. We could fix your problem and we could fix it tomorrow. And when you could say, never again rely on prehistoric landfill disposal or mass burn incineration, then you conquered your solid waste problem. Josh, I'd like you to come up, please. This is Josh Wagner. Josh is going to show some videos, which he'll control from up at the desk. And then we'll get into just 3 or 4 other items that may be important, and then the question and answer. But I think the most important thing, what you see up here, is exactly the opposite of what is happening at Middle Point Landfill.
This does not have any audio to it, but what I wanted to show you is a facility that CP Group built in Hampton, Maine for a company called Fiberite. Sorry. And what I wanted you to see really is the complexity that's involved in processing MSW and the machinery that's involved. I do have a presentation beyond these videos to show you as well, to dig a little deeper into the equipment. But this is a drone video that was taken during the installation of the equipment. You can see we use various separation machines, trommels, screens for fractionating the material. And then we send that fractionated material down the stream, sort it by density, sort it by dimension, sort it by fingerprint, meaning with optical sorters we can sort plastics from paper, paper from plastics, we can sort out metals, different things like that. This facility here is a 40-ton per hour MSW processing facility. And there are varying back-end processes that can come of a MSW processing facility. And this one in particular, they make pulp, paper pulp. They also collect some of the higher value recyclables for baling and selling to the market. And then they also make a pellet out of the film plastics that are collected from the MSW. So Walmart bags, tarps, things like that is what they're focusing on, and they use that for a fuel for cement kilns. The process that we are proposing, MBL is proposing, is twofold. The back-end process, again, is the creation of this extruded plastic for building materials. And then on the other side, and you'll see what I mean by the other side, is the creation of an RDF. So that's refuse-derived fuel that can be shipped within the state, outside of the state. It holds up very well in transportation, and that's used in, again, cement kilns, coal-fired generation plants, and also there are some upcoming technologies that are being invested in currently for taking RDF and making it into jet fuel, and this is something that's being pioneered by ExxonMobil. So that's kind of some of the things that we look into when we design an MSW facility. So we're taking a problem on the front end, which is MSW, and a solution on the back end, right? And we are kind of the intermediate problem solver, let's call it. So we see, all right, your MSW comes in and it has this type of characterization, meaning this amount of cardboard, this amount of glass, organics, you name it, all the commodities that are involved. And then we say, okay, what do you want to do with it on the back end? All right, here we want to make some extruded plastic for building materials, and we want to make RDF. Okay, well, we know RDF, that some of the big no-nos in RDF coming out of MSW are metals and PVC. PVC's not good for RDF, not good to burn, the chloride. That whole situation is not good. So we design our system to meet those end goals. And again, there are varying end goals that are out there, and this instance is just one. So I'm going to show you just another quick video of that same facility, and it's really a sped up version of this the installation. Basically, we start with a shell, and then we build everything in San Diego, and we ship it to wherever we need to ship it to, and we co-install, meaning we send some of our own guys, and then we also look for local companies that do this kind of work, mechanical installation, iron work, and electrical installation, and we put it together. It's a big puzzle. It's not that difficult. We've got 30 years of engineering experience in manufacturing behind us. We've got 600 of these facilities around the world, and we do this every day. So something of this size is really right in our wheelhouse. What we're proposing, again, is probably double this size at 90 tons an hour, as you saw when you came in. And again, for us, it's basically a second line, or carbon copy line, that runs parallel with some integration between the two lines. So it's not, again, for us, it's not rocket science, I should say. And the last video I wanted to show is a specific piece of equipment that's kind of new to the industry, and it's something that we've developed over the last 5 years. It's called the Auger Screen, and we really have put this out in the marketplace to lower maintenance costs, lower spare parts costs, and basically it's an auger. Everybody knows what an auger is. Well, we take 16 of them and we put them in a horizontal plane. We run the material over at 1,000 feet per minute, and we basically create our first fractionation right in the beginning of the system. So we've got what we call the big uglies, go up and over the auger screen, and typically it's a 12-inch hole between the augers. And then we got the unders, as you can see here, are going to the next step, which is a 2D, 3D separation. So in this facility in particular, we're separating paper from plastic via a 2D, 3D separator, which is a rubber disc machine that does that task. So with that being said, I'll go back to the presentation here. Where was that? Full screen. There we go. Okay, so a little history. CP Group started back in 1954 in San Diego as a metals recycler. So basically, being a family-owned company, private company, Mr. Davis, who was the founder, drove his pickup truck around San Diego back in the 50s and picked up metal. And he brought it to his yard that he had in San Diego, and he chopped it up and cleaned it up and sold it off to the market. So he did that for about 15, 20 years. He got into other types of recycling, such as aluminum cans. So his big splash on the market was aluminum can sorting. It was basically a simple conveyor belt that he would have at a convenience center like you guys have here. People would take their aluminum cans and dump them in. It would go up the conveyor belt, and on the end of the conveyor belt, he had a magnet. So it took out the steel Coke cans, or the other steel cans that might have been mixed in, so they get just good aluminum coming out at the back end. Well, from there, that expanded into, all right, well, I've got all this aluminum, it takes up an enormous amount of volume, right? So if you think about the size that an aluminum truck, let's say aluminum can truck takes up, if you compress that, it doesn't weigh very much, right? So at these convenience centers, he developed a machine called the can pack, which is an aluminum briquetter. Okay, so it would dump off the conveyor into the can pack, make these little briquettes of aluminum, and then you would put them on a pallet. At the end of the week, you'd then sell your pallet of briquettes to whoever wants to buy it. Somebody at Anheuser-Busch caught on to that, and they liked it. So they ended up buying 3,000 of them over the following, I think it was 15 years that he supplied Anheuser-Busch around the country. So, that was his first splash, and beyond that, he then got into bigger machines, such as screens. So just as recycling started coming to the forefront in the 90s, he turned the company over to his son, Bob Davis, who worked for him and is a degreed engineer. So, fit right in line with the company profile. And then Bob took it another step by then putting these conveyors and screens were his development for separating materials in single stream material. So then he started putting them together in kind of like a formation, right? So he kind of created the MRF back in the 90s. Not saying that he invented the MRF, but he did it on his own. I'll give him that. So from there, he built his own in San Diego and acquired a contract with the city of San Diego to process half of their single stream recycling. To this day, they still do that. So that CP facility is our R&D facility as well. So all the new machines he comes out with continually, they go there, they get tested, and then we send them out to market. But so in a nutshell, CP Group is not only a manufacturer of equipment, CP Group is an operator, first and foremost. So we understand what it takes to operate a MRF, a system, whatever you want to call it. We understand that we don't like to change spare parts. We don't like downtime. We like uptime, and we like quality products coming out the back end. So that's kind of our mantra as we move forward. This is a little bit about the company, the group itself. I actually work for CP Manufacturing. CP Group is made up of IMS Group and then also Handy Metal Mart, which is the metal recycler that started the whole thing. And below that, in CP Group is the manufacturing arm of the group that includes CP Manufacturing, Kraus Manufacturing, which is our heavy-duty C&D manufacturing system company, and MSS, which is a company that we bought back in 2007 that builds optical sorters, and they're right here in Nashville. So back in 2007, they purchased MSS as a leading optical sorter manufacturer, and we have since, integrated our systems fully with optical sorters. And then finally, to kind of round out the system mantra, is Advanced MRF. Advanced MRF is our controls arm of the group, and they basically create the programs that run that machinery. Okay, so as the engineer, we put the pieces together, and then we say, okay, this is what we want it to do. And then they come in and they start hammering away at a computer and they get it done. So that's kind of CP Group in a nutshell, and there's a little history. There's Mr. Davis right there with his can pack. Now, let's move to you guys. I did a little background work before I came here, and I found in 2018 that Davidson County and Metro Nashville, actually, they did a characterization study of MSW material. Whether this applies to you, it may not. But I figured it's close enough, it may, so I went with it. And this is kind of the area that they were showing that they pulled. And really what I wanted to show you is and how this relates to the system that we're proposing, is that out of all the samples that they took, and they broke it all down by category, they say that approximately 66% of the landfilled residential MSW is made up of 26% paper, 16% plastics, and 22% organics. So that's 65% of the stream is stuff that we can recover and keep out of the landfill. So here's a little blow up of that, just so you can see. You can see more than half the pie is good stuff. I mean, C&D is something that we can deal with. We can get the metals out and recover that. Glass, easy, we can get that out. So there's very little that we cannot, reuse. We can definitely create some serious diversion from the landfill. So, again, we have a problem up front. We have an idea of what we want to do on the back end, so that's where I come in with the idea of how we want to get there from point A to point B. This is a process flow diagram, and I'm not going to go through all this. I actually have some thumb drives with this presentation saved on it, so if you guys want to dig into this while you're having coffee tomorrow, you can. But anyways, this is the dual line that I was referring to at 45 tons an hour in feed. And again, we pull out manually some large cardboard large plastics, large metals, and residue that we can get our hands on. And then from there, we go to our fractionating stages in trommels. We have bag opening trommels, so you got the large, 30-gallon bags that people throw away. Well, this trommel will spin, and it has teeth in it, opens the bag up, liberates the material. So we're not just passing bags of trash down the line, right? We want to liberate that stuff and get it out, because there's a lot of good stuff in there. And then from there, we do a second fractionating down to a 7-inch opening with that auger screen that I was referring to. We pull out the glass and the fines, the dirt, and get that out of the way. So what we're then after is looking for mostly containers and paper at that point. So containers does include metal, and we'll get to metal in a little bit. But at this point, we've got all the big stuff out of the way. We've got the glass and the fines out of the way, so we're really focusing on paper and plastics at this point. And then from there, we do some 2D, 3D separation with the CP screen, and then we'll do some density separation after that. So the 3D cut of the CP screen, 3D meaning three-dimensional versus 2D, two-dimensional. 2D is flat paper. That'll hit a rubber disc and go up and over the screen. 3D can't grab anything really, so it'll roll back under the screen. So from that point, we'll take that 3D material and we'll put it through a density separator, because we want to get plastics away from maybe some balled up cardboard, something that's heavier that we don't want to do. So after that separation point there, we then look at material with our optical sorters. So this is where our MSS division comes in. As you can see, these optical sorters are set up in series, so we're looking at, in this case, because we want to segregate specific types of plastics for this back-end process for the extruded plastic. We're going to be pulling out polyethylene, polypropylene, polystyrene, and also ejecting the no-no PVC. And from there, we'll pass it to a secondary machine to help clean up that material, and we'll be then ejecting PET out of there. So from those streams, we've got a lot of plastic out at that point. We'll go down to a drum magnet, pull out the ferrous, and we'll put those to a QC sort, because sometimes you get some, let's say, tomato cans that come in a truck that are packed in, and there might be like paper or plastic kind of tucked in under it. Well, a lot of this equipment can't unfold that, right? So we'll run that ejected fraction past a manual QC sorter for them to grab that, or either pull it apart, or if it's just nasty, just throw it in the trash, because it's not worth it. So from there, again, we'll pass it again to the eddy current separator, and we'll do the same thing with an aluminum QC sorter. So as you can see, the brunt of the work is done by the machine. We employ the people to do some tasks that machines can't do, but the machines are there to help the people, and that's why we've incorporated a lot of steel in our screens, namely the Auger Screen, because it does take much more abuse. It handles it better as opposed to, let's say, a rubber disc screen, especially when you're up front with the larger items. Could be some C&D in there, some bricks, rocks, concrete, things like that. That stuff, those machines can handle that much better. So now let's move on to, after we've got the plastics that we want for that extrusion process, we'll send that over to this PE/PP diverter. And this diverter basically says, all right, I've got these types of plastics that are needed for that process. I'm going to send it over that way. When that process is filled and doesn't require any more, that diverter will flip back over and send it over to RDF, as you can see right here. So everything else besides the plastics that we have selected to sort is going towards the RDF line. Okay, so RDF at the end of this hits a splitter, and then we go through a final shredding process. We get the shred down to about a 1 inch minus, because RDF needs to burn at a constant rate, so sizing is critical in that aspect. So after the final shred, we will then run it past one more set of optical sorters, and this one is a dual machine. This one will be pulling out metal. So you can think about, we're taking 5 to 7 inch material and we're shredding it down to 1 inch minus. So there could be some stuff that was kind of bunched up, balled in there, maybe some wire that then comes loose. So we still need to get that metal, that last bits of metal out, and we'll run it past those metal miner sorters. And at the same time we're doing that, we're then also analyzing the material stream at that point for BTU value. Okay, so the AI that is been developed in these optical sorters allows the system to collect data. The data being, in this case, the BTU value that runs through the conveyors. So that data then gets relayed back to the system, and it allows the operator, whoever's in control, or whoever needs to see what BTU value is going out the back door, and if any changes need to be made. Okay, so that's part of the AI technology that's involved, not only with that last metal miner, but all of these optical sorters employ that same AI technology, and they work in concert to make adjustments to the system, and also to assist the operator or the maintenance manager in any predictive tasks, or if there's a motor that's overamping that may need some attention. Maybe there's some plastic that got wrapped around the shaft, or whatever the case may be. There might be a jam somewhere. So beyond that, we're taking it to an RDF process, and that's simply, in most cases, it's just sending it to a baler and then plastic wrapping it. It's a big roll of plastic that's kind of a halo formation, and it just spins around the bale and wraps it up tight, and it's waterproof and can store outside. So just quickly, I'll run through some kind of renderings of what this type of facility would look like. So as you can see, these are the in-feed piles over here on the right. This system in particular is a 3-line system, so this one's rated at 150 tons an hour. But it has all the same bells and whistles as far as going through an RDF process. And as you can see out the back end, these are the bales, the balers, and then in between, in the middle here, this is where we're collecting tin and aluminum and some other items that we want to sell out in the marketplace. Again, same plant, just a different angle. You'll notice this one has a fluid bed dryer associated with it. Again, the back end process dictates how we get to the end product. This one, again, a fluid bed dryer. I would say in this process, we would more than likely use a rotary dryer. It's a less cumbersome method of drying the material before you bale it. More efficient and cost less because it's natural gas fired. And there's another, too quick. And that's just another angle of the same thing. Just wanted you to kind of get a feeling of kind of the layout, the footprint, the size of it really, and I hope that came across in the video as well. So let's kind of break this down a little bit with the main equipment pieces that are involved in the system. So the trommel screen, I just wanted to kind of show some highlights of these individual pieces. As you can see, a trommel is basically a tube with holes in it that are predetermined size, and what we're trying to do is separate material from other material that's a different size so we can do a better job downstream of separating with screens and optics. Again, this is the Auger Screen, just a little closer up picture for you that you can see. Again, pretty simple, but very effective. This is the fine screen. We call it the glass breaker as well in single stream applications. Same exact thing. This is actually made out of cast chromium alloy. We have these in plants. We've had them for 15 years out in the field, and they've never had to change any of these discs because the stuff wears tremendously. So this is some of the 2D, 3D separators. Again, close-up pictures of, you see the rubber discs. These are what we call anti-wrap screens. Over here on the right, we've done a lot of testing with what causes the most wrapping in places, and a lot of it's plastic bags. Well, if we take a plastic bag and stretch it out, it's probably like this long. Well, that plastic bag cannot wrap around the circumference of this shaft. So in order for it to wrap and cause damage, it needs to connect itself. So the larger we make that diameter, the better off we are, or the less chance there is for the material to wrap. And you can see some kind of how the 2D, 3D separation works here. You see the 2D paper going over the top, the 3D material such as water bottles, soda bottles, things like that, they roll off the back, and then we can further separate it from there. And moving on to the optical sort units, the FiberMax is a paper-specific optical sorter. Again, it senses and traces with near-infrared technology. What we call the fingerprint of the fiber, and then we can, depending on the flow, if there's a majority of fiber or not in the stream, we'll either elect to eject that fiber or eject the contaminant, depending on which way we want to go. And the same is true for the Plastic Max. It's the same type of machine, NIR, but again, we're able to change the focus to plastics on this, so we can actually change on the fly as this machine's running. Change it from firing on HDPE to change it to firing on PET, or if you want to collect 3 through 7s, we'll fire on that too. And then obviously, what we use it in MSW for as well is removal of PVC. So quickly on the shredders, this is something that we don't make, but I wanted to show it as like main pieces of equipment that we would source and integrate into the system. This is a 35-ton-an-hour shredder. This is the pre-shredder, so everything that's basically hand-picked off the line is going to go through that. It'll knock it down to about a 10-inch size, and then from there, it'll enter in the back end of that stream that I showed you towards the final shredder, so it can be incorporated properly into the BTU stream. And this is what the material looks like, basically going in on the left here and going through that shredder, comes out looking like that. And this is the final shredders. Again, this is a 1-inch minus shredder. It's kind of the same thing, just a little tighter screen on the inside for a smaller particle size. And I mentioned the dryer earlier, the rotary dryer. This is kind of what that looks like if anybody hadn't seen one before. So you basically, your burner, your combustion chamber, your raw material feed chute, so you can imagine that RDF that's already cleaned, free of PVC, free of metals, dumps into here, and that tube spins, and as that material makes its way down to the end of the tube, we got hot air coming in behind it and drying it out, because we need to be about 10% moisture rate by the time RDF goes out the back door. And here's a baler. This is a typical baler actually for single stream facilities, places like that, but we also use it for RDF. So if you can imagine RDF coming out of that rotary dryer being fed into this conveyor, into this hopper. It's a collection hopper that basically stores material while the baler is making its ram movements back and forth. So this baler itself will make an RDF bale about 1 every minute at about 2,500 pounds. So we're looking at about a 50 to 60 ton per hour output with one machine. Oh, yes, that's right. I did have, so this is the cross wrap I was talking about, the plastic wrapper that's off the side of the baler. So as that bale gets ejected out of here, it goes through that halo, and you can see the plastic rolls right here, and it spins around the bale just like that. So as the material comes out of the baler, it gets enveloped in plastic wrap, and conveyor pushes it off to the end. Your forklift driver grabs it, and he can stack it outside, or you can put it on a rail car, or put it on a flatbed truck, whatever the case may be. You probably would need a dedicated forklift operator doing one of these a minute, so it's very, very good process. And that last picture there is kind of tells the story. That's how it can be made and shipped out. So as far as I'm concerned, are there any questions, or do you want to wait until you're done completely to do questions?
I need about 5 more minutes, Josh.
Okay.
And then we could get right into it.
Have at it. I'll stay here. This is nice up here.
Cutting-edge technology, proven, effective, and it is environmentally safe, and it's available today. The implementation of MBL technology will showcase Rutherford County's zero waste program. You know, the residents in Rutherford County could say, what do you do with your garbage? Is it still going to the landfill? They could say, we process our garbage, and 90% of it to be recycled into building products, fuel cubes, and other useful products, rather than dumping it and burying it into the ground at the Middle Point landfill. It's just an opportunity right now to take care of the problem that exists, and the problem that exists at Middle Point landfill, in my opinion, it's serious, and if you want to tackle it, it's available today for you. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of questions, but let me get back one other thing. You know, we're talking about the products that, Steve, you had, Nev Homes. I would like everybody to look at that, because it's very important, because that's something that is selling MBL technology. If we could convert your garbage, and this is unheard of, that for somebody to say your garbage is going to the landfill, no. What are you doing with it? We're processing it, and we're turning it into building products. They may think you're crazy. You're turning it into building products. And there are some examples of it, and we will get much more of different sizes, different techniques, and I will get another big batch of samples from Australia. I just wanted to make sure that MBL and Nev Homes are in a partnership. MBL has the exclusive licensing agreement throughout the United States, and the attorneys are working now on the international community. If we're going to help Rutherford County, the state of Tennessee, the United States, well, we want to be on the big stage. And to get on the big stage, that's the world. We have the ability, we have the common sense, and what we need right now is for Rutherford County to say, let's go. But John, if you want to come up too, this is John Horn, our Chief Technology Officer, with Josh and myself. I'm sure that there's a lot of questions out there, and we will do our best to answer every one of them.
Go ahead, Mayor. Nope. Nope.
I'm usually up there, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so we saw the process of the tipping floor, the garbage coming in and going through the conveyor belt, and the machinery saw. Where would you, without being baled, where does this process come in to make these trusses, roof panels?
After our feedstock, which is the end product, mixed with plastic, goes next door where Nev House has their technology.
So you're looking at another building.
Another building which will house Nev House to build whatever the specifications call for.
So would you wrap those plastic bottles up in the white plastic and send it next door, or leave it unbaled?
No, you don't have to wrap it. That was for if we were turning it into and had to transport it to a pelletizer.
Gotcha.
So that we could make the fuel cubes for the cogeneration plants to produce electricity.
Well, this
See,
is
we
what-
have 3 different products, man.
Yeah, this is what I got excited about, of
Yes,
taking
we
our
could make
trash.
that all day long for you.
Yeah.
But because we have more material being processed,
Sure.
we have to do something with the rest of the materials. So what we don't need and manufacture building products, we turn into fuel cubes. And they have a higher BTU rating per pound than steam coal, which is presently being used right now by the Tennessee Valley Utility Authority. We don't know how this administration is going with their policies right now. I read a couple of days ago that the Tennessee Valley Utility Authority was thinking of retrofitting their coal-fired facilities into natural gas. If that's the case, they don't need these cubes. But for them to retrofit those, substantial money to convert from coal to gas.
So let's get down to some serious questions. So what are you proposing for Rutherford County today? Are you looking at a P3, public-private partnership? I mean, you're looking for land. We have land. So what are you proposing, that you want our land and you want to build the facility? What's our cost?
We took a trip, Steve, Mr. Sandlin, and we viewed the 200 acres that's up on top of your landfill that was proposed to be used for 4 different buildings. An MBL facility, Nev Homes, a recycling center owned and operated by Rutherford County, and the other one was, I'm sorry? The C&D contractor, because as Josh mentioned, on the pie chart, it showed like 12% of C&D. This equipment is too expensive, and the equipment is too sensitive to put C&D through it, because C&D has everything in it.
Sure.
We would rather just have municipal solid waste, type 10, source separated, and we could make this thing work great. You had a vendor that was here that does nothing but C&D. That would be the 4th building, and I recommend that you use him, because his technology or his system is strictly for type 13 waste.
So you're proposing to build 2 buildings then. We would do the recycling, I believe I heard you say.
We will build that building for you, and we have, I don't think we brought the CD for the Las Vegas facility?
No.
No. But we will get you a thumb drive on that facility where you could see a first-tier, first-class recycling facility where material goes flying all over the place. It goes into these bins, and before you know it, everything that went through the system is someplace. The glass, each color is source separated. You got your clear glass, your amber, your green. State-of-the-art, that's your recycling. Then you have the MBL facility, which you just viewed. Then you have your C&D, man, and then you've got what you just asked, Mayor. How do you make this product? And that comes from the Nev technology.
So you would build those 2 buildings, right?
Those 3 things.
Okay. On our property. So there's got to be some type of partnership agreement.
We will enter into any agreement that you think is fair. The property is a very big item, and the percentage or the partnership exchange of ownership is even better.
And so if we were looking at that site at our current landfill, what type of utilities are you going to need? I don't believe we have natural gas out there, do we, Mac? We don't have natural gas.
I don't think you do either. Do you have natural gas? Okay.
What I saw out there today, I was over there earlier.
Speaking
Oh,
over.
I'm sorry. I'm John Horn. What I saw out there earlier today tells me that we're going to have to bring in a major power line to service these facilities, and if we can, depending on how far we have to go to tap in to get gas from the gas company, we'll have to bring in a gas line. If that's infeasible, then we'll have to go to propane tanks and store those on site and use them, because the use of natural gas, as pointed out by Jeff, is used in our rotary dryer, and Nev House has use for gas in the dryers when it's manufacturing its plastics.
I understand that you went and looked at our Singer Road property, the 20 acres there next to the rail line. Was that of any interest? We do have gas there, and we have a rail line.
That's the 15 or 20 acres?
20 acres.
The only problem there, Mayor, is the residuals that we may have at the end, we're still going to have to get to the landfill to get rid of those products. And every single time you touch garbage, it costs money.
Oh, exactly.
So if we could have these 4 locations in your landfill area, it's just a matter of putting them on a truck and bringing them, paying whatever Republic wants for it. We want to be good neighbors. We're not trying to take no work away from any contractor, any publicly traded company. We just want to do our job and help Rutherford County.
Do you think, based on that pie chart right there, you're looking at over 60 some odd percent waste reduction of the flow going to the landfill?
I could tell you in New Jersey, the national average, in every black bag that's picked up in front of the home that's put into a garbage can, inside that black bag is 52% recyclable products. It's a sin because you're burying, because New Jersey goes all the way out to Pennsylvania. It's 150 miles one way to get rid of 24 tons of garbage. 300 miles round trip. You see the guy in the morning, by the time he gets to the dump line, waits his turn, dumps, comes back, and goes home. It's a full day to get rid of 24 tons. It costs the taxpayer the money. The transporter is going to get paid, I don't care how long it takes. The landfill is going to get their disposal fee, whatever that rate may be. So, it's the people that pay their taxes that pay for it. Here we have an opportunity where everything is right here. You've got 100 acres, actually you got 200 acres. With a surveyor on site and some clever design, we could make that look like a country club when you walk in or drive into the facility. Because you have to clear land. Steve, it's mostly level.
What would be your anticipated construction time of assembly with COVID? Has created some issues for a lot of manufacturers, even heavy equipment. What do you think the anticipated time if we were to enter into an agreement with you to build that type of facility we just saw?
Well, the good part about it is the area is clear. We don't have to take the timber down. We don't have to remove the stumps. We don't have to import materials. It's probably anywhere between 10 to 12 months on a turnkey, but in partnership with CP and Cambridge Builders, you could always add an incentive in there to get it done to your convenience. And now, once we have an idea of how much material is coming from Murfreesboro, or the whole county, let's put that together. We could turnkey that into a fast-track project. Because nobody wants to be out there for a year. I understand that Tennessee has very mild winters. It doesn't snow that much. It may get cold, but we want to come in, build this, cut the ribbon, everybody celebrate, and get your technology where it belongs. And, you know, you're within the radius of that landfill. Everybody knows the smell of garbage. I understand that someone had indicated that the smell was coming from the gypsum board inside the C&D. Well, How long has that gypsum board been disposed of at that landfill? Many years? And somebody just came up with the idea that it's the gypsum? You would have known that when you first started disposing of it. And believe me, in New Jersey, they used to put it through a fine screen trommel and use, and it's called screenings, and put that on alternate daily cover for the garbage per day. But once it gets wet, and it's 110 degrees outside, you could smell that miles and miles away. It just has that type of smell. But your real problem there is garbage. So much of it, you really can't cover it properly, and it's going to stink.
There is natural gas at the Jefferson Pike in front of that landfill.
Thank you, Steve. That's a very good sign.
Craig, recognize you.
Are you able to, talk finance? Are you able to answer my questions concerning finance?
Absolutely.
Okay. First thing, what's the estimated cost of this project?
For 2,000 tons a day, $80 million.
Okay. CPG, do they own a share of MBL? Or are you a subsidiary of CPG?
Subsidiary of, in a proprietary fashion.
So, tell me, how will you secure finance for such a huge investment?
We already have the financing in hand.
Investors, financial institutions?
It's a lender from San Diego, California. Actually, we have financing in order for the facility that we were talking about in Oneida, Tennessee, which is Scott County, but we decided, because of individuals in this room, that everything great in the state of Tennessee starts in Rutherford County. That's why we're here. We want to bring it here first, and not to exclude Scott County, but bringing it here first and doing Scott County, we could do 2 projects in a 3-month separation period. Start this one, 90 days later, go to Scott County.
So you would be, your
MBL.
company
Yes, sir.
would have complete rights over all this technology. I mean, all over this facility. CPG doesn't have anything as far as any say in this facility at all?
We're a subcontractor and a proprietary member.
Okay. My last question, I want to hold from everybody else. I got a question about technology and finance. I'm going to do finance only, and then I'll come back to you on technology. One of the things you said that it kind of perked my ears was you said that every time you touch trash, money.
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you understand that there is a possibility that landfill could close in 6.5 years?
I'm aware of it.
Okay, so are you thinking of that? I mean, are you thinking about that when you're talking about building this facility? Because we're talking, if we make a deal, we're wanting to go forward. So I kind of see, everybody wants to talk about this landfill expansion with Republic. Nobody knows what's going to happen. I mean, nobody knows. We all assume something. I assume one thing. They assume one thing. But we do all agree that it's going to close in 7-8 years. That's the estimate coming from Republic. So how does that change all your plans if that landfill closes?
Well, if we can't get the volume of garbage from Rutherford County, does it make sense to you, Craig, to put up a facility if you've still got a life into that landfill? And especially your tipping fee, which is an astronomical number, and not to make a joke out of it, $0 is certainly a lot cheaper than we would have to charge you to import the material to our facility.
I don't think you understand my question. My question is that if you said some stuff has to go to the landfill. You said that.
The C&D material.
Okay. None of your trash is going to go to the landfill. You're 100%. You're going to be able to 100% of MSW, you're going to be able to recycle.
Yes, sir. I should say process. Recycling is a totally different term.
Well, my question, what I was trying to say is that okay, I'm going to back off of that one. So you're saying that our MSW, you can make a product with 100% of our MSW?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Robert?
Well, I've written about 20 questions here, but I'm not going to throw that many out all at once, but a couple follow-up questions on some of the things the mayor and Chairman Harris both asked. You said 200 tons a day you could build a facility for 80 million. Now, is that facility just the MRF that we saw, or is that included some of these other buildings? You said there would be 4 different buildings, if I understood you correctly. Is that the total cost on all 4 buildings?
No. It's for the 2,000 ton a day facility for an $80 million cost. For the building with the big sign outside that says MBL Technology. The recycling center is a totally different package. I won't even bring in your C&D contractor, and NEV is on our dime, which is $30 million.
Okay, I'm trying to get my head around, what exactly you're doing, what you're not. Land-wise, I know we've got 200 acres there, but one of the things we're looking at doing is digging that old landfill up and getting rid of it. A couple questions from that is, how much land do you need for the facilities you would envision you'd need there? 5 acres, 30 acres, 50 acres, 100?
The last map that I saw for what Republic wanted to get an expansion permit on, I believe was almost 100 acres, 97 point something.
Now, I'm talking about Rutherford County's facility, our property.
Your land.
Yes.
That's what I'm referring to.
Okay.
97 acres is where Republic wanted to get his expansion permit. And what I understand from that is not Republic's land, it belongs to Rutherford County.
2 different sites.
Yeah, we're talking about 2 different properties, because they have their own property that's closer to Jefferson Pike. I guess I'd call that the north side. I don't know, north or west. But I'm just trying to get a feel of how much property you would need, regardless of who owned it. How much property would you need to do the facilities you envision us having to go on in the future?
50 acres would be perfect. 60 acres, I'll make it look like a golf course.
Well, my vote would be 60 acres, since we're having to pay to bush hog it right now, and you're going to make it look good for us. That would sound good. Now, to get down to brass tacks about the old landfill, if we started mining that out, do you envision us being able to have you recycle, reuse, or whatever words you want to call the material that's coming out of that old landfill?
Robert, with all due respect, I wouldn't touch that in a million years, because the material that's buried there, when you see what you're starting to mine, you're opening up a can, because that's been there 30, 40 years. If you think you have a smell at the landfill now, hold on to your Snickers.
Okay, that's one of the main questions I had for you, as far as being able to mine out the old landfill.
And there are companies out there that do nothing but mining landfills, but when you get a budget number, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Extremely expensive.
Yeah, we've kind of seen the sticker shock on that.
Okay.
But that's still something that I want to know about. It's possible us doing it on our own. I don't know. I put a shovel in the ground out there and say, no, this is not a good idea. But anyway, got a few more questions, and then I'd like to be able to come back on some. You were talking about your RDFs, one of the ways to get rid of some of the waste there, and you said there were some problems with hazardous waste, and hazardous waste, one of the questions I've got for you is, what hazardous waste would you have to dispose of coming out of our municipal solid waste?
I don't remember anything about hazardous waste in the material stream coming from residents' homes, unless
HHW is 1% in this pie chart. So, I mean, when you think about what that is, we're talking about paint cans, batteries.
Right.
And that all can be,
Can of Raid, whatever, not used
it
up.
all can be pulled out on the front end manually, as long as you can get to it, as long as you can see it. You know, obviously, there's not a hazardous waste machine that can pick it out, but
Well,
I think,
I just want to make sure that I know what you're pulling out of this waste stream. You know, you got plastics, paper, you got different kinds of paper, you've got, you know, different kinds of metals, steel, copper, aluminum. You know, that goes on and on. Glass, how are you going to treat it? Tires, how are you going to treat it?
Well,
Food
you
waste.
Robert, you won't find tires because we will have a protocol on the types of materials that you could pick up. And common sense would say that a tire is not household garbage. I don't care if it's a small one, a bicycle tire. That goes to the landfill at a fee brought by the individual that owns it and go to the top of the landfill, which I happened to visit for the first time. They're thrown into these large trucks at a cost per tire. I mean, what are we going to do with it? We're going to wind up paying for it at the landfill. And then the landfill is going to tell us to go to the other part where the tires are disposed of.
Well, like I said, that's why I'm throwing these questions out here. I want to know what you're taking out. You know, we've got convenience centers that are taking tires, as far as I know. We still are.
No, not anymore.
Stopped in, you know. Okay. At any rate,
come over
I
here.
know we've been looking at a proposal to take care of tires.
Bob, he may have an answer for you.
When you asked a question about hazardous materials, and we're showing 1% up here, I believe the Class 10 MSW excludes insecticides, paint cans, and things of that nature. So, as Matt was addressing, we'll have protocols in place, and we would be rejecting that on the tipping floor.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, because, I mean, I know human nature, and I guarantee you're going to find stuff like that. It's going to happen. And, you know, and I want to know what you're going to do with it, what it's going to cost me, or are you going to be taking it to the landfill? I mean, working out a cost, whether this is a private public partnership. You know, I understand, you know, there's a lot of negotiations there, but you guys have come in here with a lot more than anybody else, as far as I'm concerned, on what you can do and what you can't do. Now, you really hadn't impressed me a whole lot with your MRF. I've seen MRFs and been in 2 or 3 of them. Yes, yours is nice, and your facility's probably better than the ones that I've seen, but, you know, it's still a MRF, so I'm not really impressed there. But you go ahead and say you're breaking down what you're going to take. You know, you're answering my questions, and that's what I want. You know, for instance, you know, you got your glass, you got your metals up there, and, you know, we didn't mention leather, rock and brick. Is that going to the landfill, or is that going to be used to road construction? I mean, have you got a place for a rock and brick, for instance?
Again, if it's on the load after the material is scaled in, going into the facility and dropping the load, you could see the material that's back there. If you see 5 tires, those tires are going back up on the truck. If you see batteries or whatever, an air conditioning, it's going back on that truck, and it's going with the vendor, because the $10 he put in his pocket, he could go pay at Republic to dump it.
Right, and you hit another one I was going to ask, electronics and appliances.
Yes, sir.
You know, so those would be rejected too? Or-
Absolutely.
Okay, so you wouldn't be stripping the metal out of them. That's why I was curious how far you went on how you stripped those down. Now, let's get down to brass tacks on how much actual waste would you need from us to be able to make these facilities viable for you? How many tons per day?
Minimum 2,000 tons a day. And that 2,000 tons a day equates into an $80 million cost for the MSW facility only.
And if you would, repeat that last sentence, because I had something else in my mind when you said it. Excuse me.
For 2,000 tons a day, for municipal solid waste, $80 million for that facility, and that's just that building for the MSW process.
And to bounce off of that, Commissioner, while we're on that, before I forget it, I don't want to jump in because you're on a roll. I like that.
No,
But
go ahead, please.
2,000 tons a day, are you talking about a 5-day work week, 520,000 tons a year?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Because we're producing, county and city of Murfreesboro, about 86,000 tons a year. So the rest of that tonnage, you're going to invite whoever wants to come out there and fulfill your 2,000 tons a day, correct?
You have to remember this, Steve. No one really knows how much material is going into that landfill every single day. And I'm not from the area, I'm from New Jersey, but my 2 visits there, I don't think anyone has a control on the material going to that landfill, because let's assume that they have, and I'll just use a number, 500,000 tons of garbage a year. And all of a sudden, Rutherford County says all the garbage is going to be diverted to MBL. Who's going to take the garbage from the other touching counties, municipalities, townships? Because they could go to the landfill anytime they want, those people, to dispose of their garbage. We will be able to take that garbage. They don't have to come to us, but if you're going to say no more garbage at Middle Point for Rutherford County, the other ones could go there or they could come to us. That's how you get up to the volume, which means that every 2,000 tons a day, and you saw the video, you have to add another line. And then if you add another line, then you're talking about an extra 1,000 tons of material at 500 tons per day. We just saw one, Josh, am I correct, that does 90 tons an hour? That's 90 tons, 900 tons a day. That could come from any place. You know, the opportunity right now to put up a building that's probably going to be 3 football fields long by 1 football field wide, 270,000 square feet. That's a lot of square footage. So I think in our projections that could figure 4 lines, Josh?
Comfortably 3.
Comfortably 3. So if you multiply all those numbers, we have plenty of room. But it doesn't make sense to put up a building at X number of square feet, and in a year, you have to expand. It just doesn't work. So for future projections, we will work along with everyone. Because the people right now that are going there, and if the MSW is not allowed to go there again, where are they going to go? You're going to send these poor people all over the world, up and down the mountains. I'm sure everybody's concerned about that.
Mr. Linda, anybody else jump in, I mean, anytime. All I think we can promise you is Rutherford County trash. Whether the city of Murfreesboro comes in or not, that's going to be up to them. We've invited them. They were invited tonight. Maybe they're watching on TV. Hopefully they are, the other mayors and council and stuff, about this. So as far as those other folks, we can't require anything for them to go anywhere else or not go to Republic or whatever. We can only tell you what Rutherford County is going to bring you or what we're taking in right now. Of course, 300,000 people at a ton a person, they say, that's 300,000 tons if we collected it all ourselves. But out of our 15 convenience centers, we're only collecting about 45,000, right? 46,000 tons a year. The other 46, whatever, is coming from the city of Murfreesboro that they're picking up, you know, household by household. So that's what I was trying to think. And I apologize because I've read a lot of booklets and proposals, so I may have gotten you mixed up. But I was thinking 15 or 20 acres is all you needed to produce 2,000 tons a day. And maybe I was wrong about that. I
No,
don't-
you were right, but we were only talking about for the MBL facility,
Okay,
and then we were going to have the Nev Homes at another location,
okay.
deliver him the materials to provide and
So
manufacture
the
those.
building materials, the MRF, and recycling is the 3 buildings you're talking about.
Not the recycling, because the 20 acres won't fit.
Okay.
So we could use the 50, 60 acres would be ideal. We could take
For all
all
3 or 4 buildings right there, and all the trash needs, like you were saying, everything but C and D you can handle for a zero-waste Rutherford County.
Absolutely.
Okay, that, I got it.
Okay, let me get back real quick. I won't use up, but just a few more. First thing on this part I want to tell you is thank you for starting off with education, because that's something we all need, me, number one. And this has been a learning experience for me all the way around. But, you know, you spoke about tours, literature, lessons, working with the community, the 2 community activities, 2 fundraisers, a birthday in April. My birthday's in April, so thank you. I appreciate that.
We'll do it on your birthday.
You can ride the float, Robert.
Board.
Okay.
So there you go. College scholarships. I mean, you're interested in me when you're wanting to get involved with our community, and that's what I like. You also mentioned, well, you said you'd be investing $80 million, and I see where that's coming from. But you also said you'd be giving us $500,000 per year host fee. Now, is that a flat fee, or is that part of a percentage that you're calculating, or where did that number come from?
Well, that number changed now because of what Steve said. Now we reduce the volume of the material, so those numbers will be adjusted.
So that was based on what?
2,000 tons a day.
Okay. And you mentioned a disposal fee reduction, and I assume that was a joke.
Yes, because you can't deduct 0.
Exactly. I like the fact that you're looking at 100 to 120 jobs. I like the fact that some of your partners are actually located here in Tennessee already. You know, most of the people that come in here talking to me, it's pie in the sky. I can't go somewhere and look at a facility. I can here, and I like that. But anyway, I wanted to tell you thank you for the things that you threw out on the front end there. And I do have more questions, but these guys need a chance too. So thank you.
You're welcome, Robert.
Wayne?
We have Davidson County that's sending a large majority of their trash here to Middle Point, and they probably have more than enough MSW for you to process and to be successful without question. So again, why Rutherford County rather than a population that you know would work for you? And my second question would be, remind me again where you have these facilities and their processing presently.
The reason why we chose Rutherford County is I had mentioned everything great in the state of Tennessee comes through Rutherford County. And Mayor Ketron and Steve Sandlin are the only reason why I'm here, or else I would be in Oneida, because it's a very poor community and a very poor county, and we probably would have that building underway. But because of the public-private partnership, which the mayor had said he would be interested in entertaining, that drew us here even faster. I think it's 200 miles from here. We came here because of those 2 men right there. And we want to do it for Rutherford County first. I never knew what Middle Point Landfill meant until I saw the sign outside the facility. That longitude and latitude, that's right in the center of your state. Am I correct?
Pretty close.
Okay. Okay. I wouldn't want to walk that distance, though, trust me. And your second question, I'm sorry. The
Where are-
facilities that you want to visit?
Well, I'm not saying I want to go, but I'm just asking where you are presently that you're having a successful processing program in operation today.
Josh, you want to do that, please?
Yeah, so in the video you saw is Hampton, Maine, the processing MSW, and the most recent installation we've done, excuse me, is for Wasatch County in Salt Lake City, Utah. Again, a little bit different back end, but still CP group equipment processing MSW.
So let me interject really quickly. Josh, I thought when you were presenting video 2, I thought you said you guys had 600 facilities around the world. Did I mishear that?
Worldwide, correct.
That are similar in nature to what we're discussing tonight?
Material recovery facilities, so that breaks up into individual components like construction and demolition facilities.
Okay.
Or single stream facilities or dual stream facilities. So we build facilities for all different types of recycling.
Gotcha. So, but the Maine and Salt Lake City are similar in nature to
Yes.
what we're talking about tonight?
Correct.
And how long have they been in operation?
Maine is 2 years, in Rutherford County. Salt Lake City is just about a year.
Okay. So if Rachel called Maine and talked to the supervisor, would they say, "Oh my God, what a horrible idea"? Or would they say, "Man, that Matt guy, he's pretty cool, and that Josh guy's pretty cool. You should talk to him"?
I think they would talk more about the equipment than they would me.
Okay. All right.
And Rachel will lie about me.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, no, they're very pleased with the equipment.
Okay.
You could definitely call them.
So were their expectations were met or exceeded
I would say exceeded, yeah.
in both Salt Lake City and Maine?
Yes, Salt Lake City was actually an RFP that was put out by a consultant for the county, and it wasn't my job, but the sales engineer who was in charge of it, he actually recommended a change to the RFP because of the equipment that they had specified wasn't going to do the job the way they wanted to. So we actually changed the RFP specification to exceed what they were looking for.
Okay.
And Mike, if
Thank
you're
you.
thinking of taking a trip, Josh could set up.
I love it. I had to pay my own way, but yes, I'd love it. Wayne, were you finished? I'm sorry, Phil, go ahead.
The 2 facilities that you have, how many tons are tipping on the floor at those facilities?
Tons per day, so up in Maine is 40 tons an hour, and I believe they're 10 hours a day, so they're probably around 500 tons a day with a buffer.
And it had a 40-ton NERF,
Correct.
40 ton per hour.
Correct.
And in the other state?
It is similar at 40 tons an hour, correct.
And how
in
much
Salt Lake City.
How much did those cost?
I believe those were in the neighborhood of, I'm going to say, 18 million for the equipment and installation turnkey. We didn't have to build the buildings, so we just supplied the equipment.
Those 2 facilities, what are their byproducts? What are their output? What are their end products?
So the one in Maine is they do pulp. So they manufacture pulp out of the paper that's coming out of the MSW, and also they do anaerobic digestion of the organics, and then a third product they make is the film for film for fuel, so they use a pelletizer for film products like Walmart bags and things like that. Now in Salt Lake City, they are strictly RDF. So they actually have a unique, let's call it unique system where they run MSW for a shift, and then they also run on the same system single stream for a shift. So they make typical single stream products, you know, paper, cardboard, plastics, and then the other shift, they switch gears to MSW and they make RDF.
Do y'all have a tipping fee? Is there a tipping fee at those two facilities? You just open your door and you pay per ton to dump?
I'm not sure of that.
The understanding that I have, there is a prepayment of probably $100,000 a month. You get a package of pre-numbered manifests. You work it down until there's 10% left in your account, and you put in another $100,000 to get another package of manifest, and just continue to do it.
Who's dumping at those facilities? Are they county or city-owned vehicles?
Local municipalities, townships, counties, but up there, they have a county plan. And the county plan said, if you're within our boundaries, that's where you're going. It's a little different here because I'm hearing that Murfreesboro may not want to go in with this package, or another mayor from within the boundaries of Rutherford County may not want to.
That's where again, we're trying to get our head around it. So, you build a facility, you put up a sign, MBL, bring us trash, charge by the ton. Is that a potential business model?
That's the whole process.
That's it. Pay us by the ton, but you're not doing it anywhere else. You've got these annual payments from townships. Okay, Rutherford County, we have 46,000 tons a year. The city has another 40. According to TDEC and the Daily News Journal, there's 960,000 tons coming to Middle Point. 300,000 tons are from Rutherford County. They're private haulers. They're Max trucks. They're the city of Murfreesboro. 300,000 tons. If you build a building, you put up a shingle, you're just simply competition for Middle Point, correct? From MSW, private haulers, and
we would definitely be competition.
If you're the same price per ton or less, or a quicker turnaround for the vehicles, you're just going to be a competitive opportunity for Max trucks and for private haulers who are bringing 300,000 tons a year to Middle Point.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Now there, if Rutherford County and MBL become a public-private partnership, you don't have to do the prepay. Rutherford County is a governmental agency. If you're my partner and we pay every 2 weeks, then everybody's on top.
And so you would build your building, put up a sign, people pay to dump at you, you're going to start competing with Middle Point. That's your business plan.
Separate from Rutherford County. When you say other people, that's what I'm thinking, non-Rutherford County residents. Is that what you're saying, or I'm missing?
No, I'm just trying to. I'm just trying to understand how this business model works. You put up a shingle, people dump trash on you. You process it into product. You charge if people dump on you. You have an end product. And in Rutherford County, your end product you've mentioned is fuel, RDF, plastic bales of product. So, what do you anticipate? You don't have a success rate. You don't have a model of who's buying the fuel from Murfreesboro, or from Rutherford County, who's buying your output. I'm just trying to understand your business model. You charge for people to dump, you sell your product at the end, or you rebury it. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Do you have an end user for your product? This is not proven. We don't know who's buying this product. Is 84 Lumber buying it? Is Home Depot buying it? Is this a sellable product you can confirm to us is a success?
Let's assume that nobody in the whole world wants to buy that product. What does it have to do with the public-private partnership? Let's take...
Okay, and I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that.
Okay.
But because I'm not suggesting that our business relationship is that we profit if we can get rid of our trash at less or no cost than we are paying now. I don't care what you do, but I just want to know if you have a successful output that you can stay in business. Part of it is going to the Australian company, Nev House, to build these products. Part of it's going to be fuel to run cement kilns or coal-fired plants for TVA. We don't know that anybody can succeed at that. Nobody has yet. So I'm trying to understand, do you have a successful business model that your output can indeed be profitable to you?
You know what
can you tip? Can you receive income from tipping fees?
You know what you're missing out of the equation, Phil? What you're going to pay MBL to dispose of the garbage. That plus the products behind you, plus everything else that's marketable, the recyclables. That's added to our business plan. Everything is a revenue.
And do you have success with that business plan elsewhere? We've got 600 facilities, but only 2 are similar to this, neither one of which is older than 24 months. I want to make sure that your presentation is wonderful, but you cannot point to a successful enterprise. You only pointed to 2 that are brand new. So again, there's so many ways I could go with these questions, and everybody has more questions, but we give you land, the rest is on you. I see no way for you to be successful. I see no proof I see no track record of success. RDFs have not been successful anywhere that we've discovered thus far, from Waste Away to Fulcrum to anyone else. TVA has not been a big buyer. They produce electricity for 2 cents a megawatt. Nobody can compete with them. We're fortunate in Tennessee we have that. So I don't understand that you have a successful business model that you can show us. And y'all stop me if I'm out of line here.
Well, if you need to, I'm sorry.
No, Matt, all he's trying to make sure is, and we're all trying to make sure is, if we're entering a partnership with you, we want you to succeed. We want you to make money. Phil's concerned, like we're all concerned, because there's been others similar that we've chatted that have a similar end product other than the construction materials. That the only reason they haven't exploded is they don't have an end user for their pellet to fuel. They can change it to electricity, but in TVA world, which Phil alluded to, TVA is not interested in buying extra power from us because the money they'll buy from us to put back on the grid doesn't pay for itself. The other company that he referred to that also takes trash into pellet, who also says, man, TVA just send us this big mandate. Now they allow this pellet to be burnt in TVA for coal fire furnaces. Well, the letter looks nice, looks official, but I think they have yet to send 1 truckload to TVA to burn it in fuel. So that's what we're concerned about. Do you have a supplier on the back end that's going to take all this from you, both from the building product side or the RF?
I'm going to answer that question, and I'm going to make it quite easy.
Okay.
Every single thing that we manufacture from the front side to the back side, we have a place to sell it. What I would recommend is don't do the public-private partnership. let MBL risk $80 million, and then your question, Phil, is right out the window, even though your questions are important. Let us take the hit and prove to you, and then in a year, you could come and say, let's put a deal together. We have the $80 million already for this site. It was just a very positive position that Rutherford County and their leadership said, let's go partners. And anybody that would say that that wasn't a good idea on MBL part or my part, well, then I guess it was a bad deal.
And and thank you for clarifying, and your success rate, you're selling every product you produce, or you're able to outsource every product you process.
Bill, I'm going to make you so happy at the end, you're going to say.
Excellent. But we're only hearing of 2 facilities like ours, and then the next statement is, we are so successful, everything we have is done. Now, granted, if you do it on your own, you're for profit, whatever, but I'm not hearing where your end use is. What is it? Who's buying your product?
The building products or?
All of it. Who's buying it? You've got a great end use for everything. What are your end uses? This fuel. Where's your success rate at selling fuel? You mentioned a couple of items, Josh, and I'll stop because I'm getting blank stares. But then we ask, where are you doing this? And it's Nevada and Maine, Salt Lake City and Maine.
And Maine. But that's a totally different operation there. They did not want a public-private partnership. So you're talking about a tomato and you're talking about a watermelon. Let's go to the tomato. They're happy with them owning it themselves. Here, it's a public-private partnership. Now, for the building plan or the building model, what do you think should be charged to Rutherford County per ton at the MBL facility? As the commissioners of all of Rutherford County.
Say the question one more time, Matt.
What do you think that the average rate would be to deliver 1 ton of garbage to an MBL facility? And whatever we do with it, we could send it to the moon.
We're hearing $60 a ton.
That's the going rate. So now multiply your numbers, and every end revenue stream that we have 5% that goes to a landfill. And you ready for this? It doesn't have to go to a landfill. I will provide Republic Waste Services my 5% of sterilized, clean aggregate, which is called screenings, that they could use for alternate daily cover for free, because we're good neighbors. Instead of buying bank-run material to cover your garbage every day and ruining a very valuable resource, use that material. I'm going to have 5% of 2,000, a lot of tonnage every day. And I'm sure Republic would never in a million years, we don't want it. Or we're going to charge you $100 a ton. If it came to that, then I got to pay it. But why would they walk away from a alternate daily cover material that's better than the bank run material they have to pay for?
Where are you currently providing alternate daily cover in the United States of America at a success rate that you just described to me?
We're not. We take it to the landfill in New Jersey.
And bury it.
Okay. Craig, I think you're ready, buddy.
Hold on. Yeah,
Sure.
Matt, I think we're catching you in a contradiction, which I think Craig is getting ready to jump on.
So, if I understand you, your billing to make money would be hiring townships about $100,000 a month. Would that be correct? Is that what you said?
I don't remember that, Craig.
You said, what was the $100,000 per month? What was that?
I don't remember that number ever being said.
You were talking about Just one example, when you said this township could pay $100,000 a month, and then each day that would be deleted down till you got to
No,
about
the
10%.
$100,000 was from the company that buys the prepaid manifests and works the manifests down to come into the facility to pay for the load that they're delivering. And when they get down to $10,000, they got to put another 100 into the account so they get more stacks of manifests. And that's the only entry into the landfill or into the facility.
Okay, so let's just use that number, 100,000. Are you aware that we charge Republic a fee to bring other people's trash in here? So that amount is anywhere between 800, and we're going to renegotiate it. If we did do business with them, it'd be a lot more, but about 1.2. So basically, are you saying that we get free trash?
I never said that, and
Well, I'm just trying to go on this $100,000. This thing's got me completely, I don't understand what you're saying. I'm just looking at this number, and 100,000 times 12 months is 1.2 million, and we charge 1.2 million, so.
just a coincidence, Craig.
Okay. Could you explain it?
No, because it's not going to happen here to buy $100,000 worth of manifests per month. You've got a lot more material than that. And if you multiply your material times the number that was just thrown out, $60, it's a much bigger number than 100,000 until you run out of manifests. But you wouldn't be getting manifests because we're partners. I think you missed something in the middle there, Craig.
Let me jump in and ask it a different way. With your model of 2,000 tons per day and an $80 million facility, if we were partners on a PPP, what percent or how much money could you envision the county making from basically selling our recyclable process?
I had mentioned to Steve that on 2,000 tons a day, after taxes, it's probably a net of $12 million a year. On a 51-49 partnership, you could do the math, and that's the bottom line number. But what we decided to do, talking to Steve and Mayor Ketron, is we will throw in Nev Homes, because if we're partners, and that's the hottest product on the market, because you don't have to chop down the forest. You don't go to Home Depot and buy a 2x4 that's going to cost you $20. We'll make you a straight product, and it's right there. Do I think that we could sell that to Home Depot or a Lowe's? Sure we could. But until we get much more larger contracts and we get much more material, we're happy making that for a specified home. I will send Steve what Nev Homes did, Nev Hyman, building these shelters in some exotic island across the world for people that were living in cardboard boxes, under tarps. The man is a gentle giant. He's a professional surfer. He does everything to help humanity. And this is what he wants to do with the garbage here. Turn it into his building products and then ship it to, I'll think of the island in a second, but that's his idea. And my idea was, our government right now is spending in sanctuary cities hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars for tents, for whatever, to house the homeless, the illegal aliens passing through our border, when we could build them a shelter that they could stay and go through the process of becoming a citizen legally. The way it's happening right now, they're all across the United States. They have COVID. It's just an ugly mess, but this is what Nev wants to do with the products. And the way that the government is spending all these funds, I think it's a wonderful idea. If they've got unlimited funds, and now we've got from the COVID money to the infrastructure money and more money, I guess you grab it while you can.
Well, let me move you back on at least to the target I want to shoot at. And not to say that those aren't good ideas, but as far as if I came to you and said, okay, I'm ready to sign on the dotted line here, are you going to guarantee me or the county a specific amount of money? If I can guarantee you, say we get 2,000 tons per day, and we know we got that coming into the facility, how much money in that partnership can you guarantee the county every year?
Robert, if I was to give you a figure right now, I'd be shooting right off my hip, but I will give you the mathematical equation on the importation of garbage times the tipping fee divided into 265 days, and you'll have the figure within $10. And it would be that accurate. So we could do everything that we're saying we could do. And let's assume that we don't. You're guaranteed your number. And that's the reason why contracts are prepared.
Well, here's the thing, and nobody spit this out here. You know, you're talking about 2,000 tons a day. We generate, 40 ourselves. And one of the problems that we've got is we don't want the trash. We don't want the stink. We don't want the traffic. I think that the facilities that you're talking about are not going to be generating smell from them. I've been into MRFs. Inside's not so pleasant, but outside the MRFs, other than the tipping floor itself, once you're outside that, you're not getting a lot of smell, or I haven't noticed, something that objectionable within, say, 100 yards of the building. So I'm assuming that's good, but we're talking about a lot more traffic, and that's one reason we were talking about our other facilities that have rail service, especially if we're talking about bringing in stuff from Metro, Davidson County. To me, I'd rather set your facility up in our industrial park up there, and then what waste has to be landfill, truck it over, rather than trucking it all across our roads. Right now, we're paying for the infrastructure on the roads and upkeep there, and if we're increasing the volume on this road, and we just talked for about 3 hours last night about the traffic problem on this particular road where we're talking about putting your facility, we got a headache right there, and I almost got killed there. That's why it's kind of personal to me.
I watched it.
And you got to convince me it's going to be worth it to the people of this county, money-wise, to put up with that increased volume of traffic over there.
But Robert, the increased traffic, you already have a traffic study done. We're going to be up at the other part of the hill, which is off the main road. So the trucks that are going in there to our facility at that, let's call it 60 acres, how would that disturb your traffic on that one major road that leads into the existing entry and then all the way in the back where you go up to the where the tires are being disposed of?
Well, if it is right now, you wouldn't be able to get your trucks in and out of the road because it's backed up from our little convenience center there. Sometimes 300 or 400 cars, so you'd be waiting in line for our people dumping trash at the convenience center. That's why I'm saying there's a problem there. Whether we could come back in, and yes, we could probably get a turn lane in there, and yes, we could probably widen the road some, but that's still cost.
And this is the first.
Bottom line is,
yes,
we're looking at people that don't want any more trash coming in from outside the county, and how am I going to say? What am I going to say to these people? Well, you're going to get, say, $6 million a year that can come off your tax bills if we do this, or whatever amount this works out to be. And yes, I can do that calculation, and I will here in a minute. But anyway, that's what I'm juggling. Yes, I think what you're talking about on our facility there is doable, but I know there's going to be problems because we got problems there already. And that's just going to add to these problems. Now, yes, there's workarounds for them, but, when we're talking about cost, you're looking at your cost. You're not looking at my cost. My cost is upkeeping the infrastructure around here. Those roads, those highways that are being tore up from all these cars and trucks coming in, dumping from, off the interstates there, 840 and 24. That's why I'm thinking, am I sure I want to put it over there at the landfill?
I have one question.
Wait
If
a
I
minute.
offend you, I don't mean it, I promise you, I'm just got a question. We got 5 people in this RFP that we're dealing with. 2 of them are billion-dollar conglomerates, Waste Management and Republic. Billion-dollar conglomerates, all right, the leading people in this industry. Have you ever talked to them about your technology, or have they ever approached you about your technology?
I went to both of those companies when they just started, when Mr. Heisinger was part of Waste Management, and Republic Waste, whoever that CEO at the time was. Showed them everything that I explained tonight to everyone present. And they said the landfills are the answer to garbage. And when you put your first one up, come and see me. I found that a direct insult because, as you mentioned, billion-dollar companies. And they got that way because they're publicly traded. None of that money is theirs, but they make tons of it.
Well, the vice president that came here and talked, he has said something that has just stayed with me through this whole process. And I'm going to tell you what he says, and I'm going to let you know. He said to this committee that if there is a magic pill, they would own it. And he said that to me, and that's one of the things that just, it's just, I just can't get it out. I can't get it out of my head because I'm thinking your presentation, what you put up here is impressive.
Thank you.
All right? But then I keep going back to what he said, and I just can't get that out of my head because he said they would own it. Because he's saying they're looking all the time. They look all the time for that magic box. Did they not say that? They said they look for the magic box, and if they found it, they would own it. So that's where I'm coming at with this.
Hopefully I could settle that impressive statement, which is still branded. They're landfill operators. Landfill operators act totally different than technology companies because they're afraid of the word technology. All the landfills across the United States are owned by both those major companies, and they're top of the heap. What would happen if this technology comes out and spreads across the United States? What would happen to their stock and their billion-dollar company and their stockholders jumping off bridges? Because now there's a new game in town. Anybody could be a landfill operator. You go get a permit, you buy a piece of property, you line it, you put a sign up like Phil said. Special today, $40 a ton, and you'll have everybody in the world coming there. When this hits the ground running, and Josh mentioned it before, everybody's going after technology. You don't think that they're feeling the heat?
Actually, yes, I do.
Okay.
Because Waste Management put in over $500 million in Fulcrum. So I know that they're trying to do that, trying to find technology. So I know that. So yes, I do think that they're trying to find new ways and start shrinking the footprint. I do believe that. And that's why I'm sitting there saying this, is because I just feel like that is the number one thing I say to companies like you that come in here is I believe they would come after you if it was what you're saying it is. I believe that what he said is completely genuine. Because they eat people. You agree with that?
Yes, I do.
And that's why I'm asking that. And I just wanted to say that to you in front of, the commissioners and everybody else. That statement means a lot to me. Whether I'm not telling you I'm for Waste Management, Republic, or anything, but that does mean something to me, though.
I could answer that by saying Waste Management was always the top tier company and Republic's come a long way, but they all started someplace. MBL, we're on television right now. They have to worry about MBL and its technology because it's going to take over. Look at any landfill, not just here in Rutherford County. Go any place you want. It's the same type, same smell. And is that the way to take care of garbage? What about the children and their children and everything else? By having greenhouse gases, by having methane that they're breathing every day. We don't care about those children? And breathing fresh air in Rutherford County or the state of Tennessee. You don't need landfill disposal to do what we're going to do. And I honestly think right now that Rutherford County, after we leave and everybody talks, will consider this big time because it's the only game in town. We could do this standing on our head because it's not a major amount of material, but it's the right way of getting rid of your material. And maybe getting rid of your material is a bad way of saying it, to process your garbage and turn it into renewable products instead of just getting a walking floor or a packer, bringing it up Disposal Road, going around in circles, and dumping it in the ground. I think Mother Earth is tired of this. But we're going to continue to do it, not only here in Tennessee, across the United States.
Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
Steve, you've been very patient. I want to recognize Steve Piercy.
Is there any part of what you showed us here tonight that will work with Rutherford County's trash only? And no one else's trash? The entire county's trash, but no out-of-county trash?
Yes, it would be a smaller amount. And once I get that number, then the number of tonnage that you would provide, just Rutherford County, then we would put together another dollar figure so that Robert, with his calculations, will know if it's a public-private partnership, what your end will be. Because that's where I think you want to be. If everything great happens in Rutherford, boy, this is great. So we will just handle Rutherford County garbage. And the rest of the people, they could go wherever they want. But we would put those numbers together and the total amount of that facility, not with the Nev House, not with the recycling center or your C&D vendor, because he's not part of our equation. We will come up with that number for you, Steve.
So you can build an $80 million facility and run Rutherford County's trash through it by itself, but your price will escalate. That's what you're telling me.
No, I think the price would be reduced because I don't think that you do 2,000 tons a day, Rutherford, because of the other people that are not coming, such as Murfreesboro. Because I'm confused. If it's a county plan and you tell your cities where to go, then you would have a total volume that you get rid of on a daily basis, a monthly basis, or a yearly basis. And then the calculations could be, you could put it on a blackboard, any color chalk, you're going to come up with the same answer.
I don't know if you've kept up with us or not in the last 2 or 3 months, but we spent several nights up here trying to figure out a way to get an expansion denied. The regional committee met here for us, and we listened to them, and they actually recommended to go with a decision to TDAC not to let Republic expand. Did you know that we were trying to not let the Republic landfill expand because we're really trying to cut the other 30 counties that's bringing trash to Rutherford County out of our county? Did you realize that?
That was in your RFP. Yes, I did, Steve.
And you would still come here with your presentation knowing that?
Yes, sir. Because now the 80 million was reduced. And again, I'll throw a number out on the table, 50 million, because of the amount of garbage that you're referring to now, and nobody else could enter that MBL facility.
if we should happen to might entertain what you're wanting to do, will we have any authority on whose trash comes in your facility?
Yes.
Totally?
No.
The MBL technology, is it a traded stock?
No, sir.
Private owned?
Privately owned. One day it may trade.
Your other two locations that you have, one in Maine, one Salt Lake City, are they solely yours?
They're owned by the municipality or the county of record. See, what they did is they wanted to be garbage people. They wanted to own and operate their own facility and have control of where their garbage goes, how much. They could put their own tip numbers together because it's their little toy.
How close, either of those two facilities, how close are they to a Republic Service landfill?
I don't know that.
I don't know that either.
Nowhere close?
I don't know. I would rather say I don't know than guess and be wrong.
Thank you.
But honestly, Steve, wherever it may be, and I'll get back to you on this, I'll get you the tip number that they're using and what the closest landfill, regardless of who owns it, Republic, Waste Management, Progressive, or whoever. I'll get you that documentation, because that was a very good question.
Mr. Sandlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Linda, we listened to you on the, I guess, a Zoom, after, I think, Mr. Chairman and the mayor, myself, and I was trying to think who all was listening to that to see if we wanted to bring you forward or whatever. But the first page that you sent us in this, and it's on all of your tablets, everything you went through tonight, I think you said that at the beginning, but if you were following along or whatever. But on the first page right here, kind of what got my interest as a taxpayer, as a former county commissioner for 24 years, and talking trash with you guys for for a long time now. We're not in negotiations yet, but if we're going to bring them back, I think that's what we're trying to get to, is get down to the final 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know what that answer may be, but they admitted here on the front page of what they're going to do, besides the other stuff that he told us tonight about the college scholarships and stuff. But Commissioner Harris, we could negotiate right here for $2 a ton. They said they're going to pay us $500,000 right here yearly. Well, we'll just take ours, $2 a ton. It doesn't say anything about private partnership here. It says y'all going to do a $80 million facility and run it, because I don't think we want to run it. The county, I don't know how to run one. I don't know if anybody in here knows how to run one. So we want the experts probably to run this thing and do it properly. And whatever you do with the product, that's why you're spending $80 million. They better know what they're going to do with that end product, Commissioner, or they're getting ready to fail. The only part of public-private partnership here that I see is if the county says, okay, this will work over here on our existing landfill, or okay, this will work at our facility or land we have over here or something. But that, we can get that in negotiation and do that. I mean, I think that's simple. They've really kind of almost said that here on the front page. So that's not a big, I don't think that's a big decision maker right there for these folks. If it is, I want them to speak up and say something. But we went to San Jose, right, and looked at the facility out there with Republic, and it's a MRF. Did y'all build that facility, or was that prior? Because they had some people picking off of there. Like y'all will have some people to pick maybe whatever, cardboard or paper or something like that, but yours is more automated, it looks like. You've got just fewer people that's picking maybe the trouble stuff that you were talking about, that maybe something in a can that can't come out, and you're...
Yeah, so we have pre-sorters that we'll handle the big bulky stuff that comes up the line first. And then beyond that, it's just quality control sorters after that, QCing the end of the line machines. But as far as San Jose, we do have a what's called a mixed waste facility in awfully close to there. It's in Sunnyvale. It's called the Sunnyvale Smart Station. Is that maybe it?
I was right on the bay.
Yeah.
I mean, you had the NFL football team right across the river there or something.
That's our facility.
Newbie Island.
Oh,
Newbie Island, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
No, so Newbie Island is our competitor's equipment. That's BHS.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because they're all
Kind of
kind
the
of
same,
right.
but not.
Similar.
Similar.
Yeah, I mean,
Older equipment, I think, maybe, but
yeah, I'm thinking that's probably 10 years old, somewhere around there.
maybe older. I don't know.
Maybe older. Okay.
But that's what all I had to say. I was just like, this front page really kind of says it all. And, if we can get these folks either into that final whatever or not, then we got to see what Pratt wants to do. But it looks like they would work in conjunction with maybe a Rockwood that would take the C&D stuff at this time.
Thank you. Shanto?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. After listening to answer several questions, and Mr. Deputy just mentioned, looks like we get closer and closer. I'm so delighted to see your products, and not just from here. When I turned on the channel 19, I saw Mr. Chairman holding the product, so other words, the community saw it. I saw it.
Right.
So I'm so delighted to see that, and I know I want to ask you, if your product can be sold to Home Depot. You answered that question. That's why you because I use some of the the wood from that area too. Mentioned to. You said about the community support, just like I said, they watch TV 19. I know they would be very happy to hear Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Mr. Chairman, the other commissioner talking about this one, because some of them, they asked me some questions outside of the meeting too. Mm-hmm. If everything goes well, when you think this can be started, and how long would it take for about 4 or 5 buildings, and the cost of 4 or 5 buildings?
Shanto, I think that question, I think, had been asked and answered, and I think Matt said about 10 to 12 months they could be ready to have a ribbon cutting, and I'm assuming that includes the machinery installed, right, Matt?
That is a full turnkey.
Okay, which sounds aggressive, but in today's world that sounds aggressive. But so I guess once we would enter a contract and legal had all the legal signatures, the clock would tick, so in about a year's time we would be open for business. That sound about right?
But I would need the help of Rutherford County for some of the permits for the construction end. With the Department of Environmental Protection and Conservation, we already have filed 2 permit by rules, so we're in very good shape with the authorization to put one of these facilities up. Because there is no stacks, there is no odor, so a permit by rules fits. But maybe with the construction department, and I don't know how stringent it is here in Murfreesboro, that may be the only hitch for us not to get it done from the 10 to 12 month period. And I'm sure if we're partners, or we're going to head to be partners, we'll get the permits done, because it's for the best of Rutherford County.
Wayne?
I think Commissioner Piercy was looking on my paper because he got both of my questions, but he's so far away. My perception, whether it's correct or not, is for your program to be successful, we need to figure out The state of Tennessee has said that each citizen produces about a ton of garbage or trash a year. And we have about 360,000 people, is that correct, Mayor, in this? So if we could encapsulate, if that's the right term, 360,000 tons of trash and direct it to your facility only, and then we wouldn't have to have out-of-county trucks bringing their trash to us. Would that be a fair statement, that if you had 360,000 tons that you're processing each year, that you could be successful off of that process, of that?
Absolutely. That, in an agreement, would make us all happy. And then when you see the bottom line, after taxes and what's earned, and the material that's being sold, and the recyclables, and again, in the public-private partnership, I don't think anyone ever considered the energy credits. Nobody ever thought of the carbon credits. But because MBL is a professional, honest company, that's revenue to share. And they trade carbon and energy credits on Wall Street every single day of the week. We don't need them, Rutherford don't need them, so trade them. And that's the bottom line. It comes back into the company and goes into the receivable pile. And at the end of the year, when the accountants say, after taxes, you did pretty good, I think it's a feather in everyone's cap.
I think it's kind of boils down to, and we've known this since we first started this, is do we want to go big or do we want to just keep it for us? And we've still not decided that, have we?
But at 360,000 tons, I think that makes us big if we could figure out how to have the entire county go one place.
And I agree with you, but the point is, Middle Point's still going to be bringing in all this refuge from the other counties for as long as they're open. So you're still going to have that problem.
Phil? All right, let me ask you a few things, or summarize. I don't know. First of all, thank you all. A couple of things that I'm going to take away, Matt, from this discussion, and two of them are not totally clear in my head. So maybe you can solve that. And when I mentioned earlier about perhaps we caught you in a contradiction, and I referenced Craig may be pouncing on that. He didn't, but so maybe I'm misunderstanding. You said earlier that 100% of municipal solid waste you could reuse.
95%.
Okay.
5%, Mike, is the residual that we were going to give for cover.
Yeah, give for cover or,
Yep.
Okay. If you can't give it for cover, what are you going to do with it?
I'll pay the disposal rate to get rid of it.
Okay. So if there was no Republic around, you would have to haul it off, put it on a train, ship it somewhere.
Wherever.
Dig it, buy some land, dig a hole, whatever. Okay. I just wanted to, because to me, 100% is a bold statement. I don't believe anybody can do 100% of anything.
I don't think I ever said that, Mike.
Okay, all right. Well, my bad. The other thing, which I get a little fuzzy on, and then this goes back to Phil Dodd's statement. You know, you're in Tennessee, man. It's Southern hospitality, right? We want everybody to succeed. We want to help. We want to pitch in. We're the volunteer state, right? His concern, my concern about, and maybe it's none of our business. You said, hey, that's my problem. Let us worry about it, about having an end user for your pellets, for your fuel, for your board feet of building material. We're just those kind of people. We feel vested. We feel like a partner And maybe you're right. Maybe it's not our cross to bear. Maybe that's all MBL. But we're just very curious. As my wife says, she's not nosy, she's just very curious. So that's the maybe I'm still not warm and fuzzy about, man, do these guys really have a end user for the pellets and the board feet? I heard, and you said, we'll do it all ourselves. You guys just step back and we'll run the business, and if we don't make it, we don't make it. But I'm just telling you, that's what some of us are concerned about is, man, we wish there were more Maines and Salt Lake cities, and we wish there were some more similar folks that were using, and we wish Neuv House, if I'm using the correct, Nev House.
Yes, sir.
I wish they were more established, and I wish they had a contract with the government, and, if there's a lot of wishes. And by the way, I do want everybody to write this down. If you have to go to the website of Nev House, NEVHouse, HOUSE.com, and tell me you don't love what you see with the building products that they're using. It's pretty impressive. So, you're right. If you could get the government or to mandate to trade these for tents, the sky's the limit. I wish we were farther down the road with that to have a little better comfort level. But I just want to ask if there's any more questions. I do have one more. Is there any more questions?
Frank, if I just want to add one thing, please.
Sure, you bet.
There's a lot of questions of how much we're going to sell, our business plan. Are we going to be left with materials that we have nothing to do with? And to see a building model, a building plan. I'd like everyone here to put yourself in a position of the lender that's risking $80 million that I'm personally responsible for. If you don't think that I was vetted and put through a ringer to get that commitment for $80 million, then boy, I'm in trouble.
Mac,
Matt, on your...
Oh, yeah, sure. Matt.
On your processing facility, when you went to the landfill, you went by one of our convenience centers, so you can see how we collect our trash there. The cardboard, the compactor machines you saw up front closest to the street, 2 of those for trash, 1 is for cardboard. Mm-hmm. And then down the landfill roadside was recyclable material side, and then on the other side was the open top trash, bulk items. You don't want any of the bulk items for your process, is that correct?
No. But again, instead of you taking your cardboard, which is it's valuable today, cardboard, because recycling is coming back. China's getting back into the picture, ferrous metals, non-ferrous metals, a big comeback. Source separate that like you're doing, and there's a lot of people out there that'll buy it. Make it into a revenue stream for the county. And with the recycling center that we'll build for you, we're only going to capture what's in the garbage bags and your garbage cans. The rest of it you already have figured out, which is your recycling plan in the state of Tennessee. And the way that you're doing it right now, your recycling plan's got to be very high. I'll just throw a number at it, 50%. Across the nation, they don't get to 25. And then the material that's in the black bags goes through our process, and we recaptured everything.
So going back to Wayne's analogy of the 360,000 people a ton per year per person, that's 360,000 tons divided by 365 days a year. That's 986 tons per day of not everything in which can go through his process. Similar to what we have at the convenience centers, what goes into the compactors is what he would want. What goes into the open tops is what he would not want. So you're looking at roughly 70% of that going to that facility, which would put him 252,000 tons a year.
250,000 tons per year, with everything else excluded. Okay.
Yes, you may approach the bench. Come on up to the microphone. Tell everybody.
My name's Duke Morton. I'm a big mouth, loud mouth out of Knoxville, Tennessee, who has deep roots in this area too. My great uncle, in fact, was editor of the National Banner for 39 years in this area. I graduated from a school maybe you all have heard of here close by, Castle Heights Military Academy, back in '68. I love this area too. But there are no guarantees on anything, okay? If everything is paid to show up, everybody be doing this, okay? Another thing, would y'all not agree that the Nashville area is the most successful area in the state of Tennessee as far as influx of people, as far as business buildup, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that we've ever heard of in a long, long time, yes or no?
Yes, yeah, most definitely.
Everybody. Mm-hmm. Okay. We have to take a certain amount of calculated risk, minimize that calculated risk down to as far as we can do it in order to minimize any mistakes, etc. But you have to take a little bit of calculated risk in order to get anywhere. Not to my horn or anything else that much, but my uncles, my father borrowed $3,500 from a moonshiner, 1930 money, Johnson City, Tennessee, to begin a successful meatpacking company, Morton Brothers Meatpacking Company, in 1930. How much is $3,500 now? Coming from a moonshiner? Also, at that time, the banks that were open in the second year of the Great Depression were loaned at 1/8 to 1%. They borrowed at 10%, $3,500, paid the part principal, part interest, first Thursday of every month, and made it. I mean, made they were one of the pioneer businesses of East Tennessee. And built it, well, anyway, I can build forever, built 1,300 acre farm, 375 head of beef cattle in Russellville, Kentucky. That was just one offshoot of the meatpacking business. But my point is, heck, you've got to have some vision in order to get anywhere. If you minimize the gamble here as much as possible and take baby steps, you'll make it. But you got to take the first step. Do you not agree?
Yep.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Duke. Thank you. And just for those of you who don't know who Duke is from East Tennessee. He's the one that brought MBL to the table with the meeting with us, so that was his connection. I'm sure there's a deeper connection, but he was the...
He's our eyes and ears out here because he's a local.
Yeah, yeah.
And he does a very good job.
All right. Anybody else? Impressive? All right. Be sure and go on the, what's the correct pronunciation? House? Nev. Okay. Simple enough. Website. All right. That's a caveat that I think has a lot of opportunities. Do you have any closing comments, Matt or Josh or Ingrid or Jeremy? Thank you all for coming, by the way.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for having us.
I just think when you could try and finally control your destiny with garbage, it becomes such an easy way of conducting business. And you could talk about the volume, you could talk about the pricing, you could talk about anything. And now you're getting involved with recycling. So you've got the entire solid waste mixture and 3 of the buildings. And then the missing piece will be from one of the vendors that were here when you discussed at the meeting of the 19th, which is Pratt, I believe?
Yes, sir. 16th.
No, it wasn't Pratt. Pratt was a recyclable. I'm talking a recycler. Rockwood, thank you. There's your C&D. This is what he does for a living. He provides a very good service. So now you've got every aspect of all your solid waste, every type that's possible. And the contaminated soil and the hazardous stuff, you got a landfill right down the street. And that's all I have, and I want to thank everyone for the time, the questions, and hopefully we could do some business.
All right, so Matt, thank you. And just to be clear, do you owe Steve some additional information about maybe a downsize based on tonnage? Well, there was some say again?
With those questions tonight, they can work on that as far as giving us what we're producing right now, or say 50,000 tons a year. Well, I mean, we're at 46 or so 50,000 tons a year.
Okay, all right.
Or with a escalator in there, we're growing, about 25, 28 people a day in Rutherford County, so you might factor in a little tweak there. And then, of course, the unknown question would be if the city of Murfreesboro comes in. And then you're looking at probably what he's proposed.
Okay. This has been, yes, Steve, go ahead.
The price of $80 million, how long is that price good for?
How old are you, Steve, if I may ask?
I'm 62.
I'll hold it until you're 70, and God bless you.
I would say you've got quite a bit of profit built into your 80 million based on how things are increasing in value today.
Or they've got some great investments, one or the other, yes. All right, very good. I can't thank you enough, Matt, and the MBL family for making the trip. Duke, you too. It's been most informative, and we appreciate your time and effort. Safe travels back to Jersey, and always good to have two PEs and technical folks as backup. You guys did a great job, and we look.
I wish I could say they're from the University of Tennessee, but they're not.
Well, neither am I. That's okay. We'll get over it. We hope to see you back here sooner rather than later. It's good to see you, Josh. Thank you. All right, gentlemen, we have a meeting on the 16th with Pratt, and yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I have the presentation on the thumb drive. I think I mentioned it earlier. If anybody wants one, I think I have like 8. So she's got them right there. Okay. All right.
Just make sure Steve has one. And all right. Thank you, Josh. And again, thanks all. Thanks the whole MBL family. So we'll see you on August 16th for Pratt. Any other questions, comments? 16th, yeah, lock and load. All right, dismissed.